Welcome to Spotlight on New England, where we delve into the diverse and inspiring stories of pastors shaping communities across the New England area. Join us as we unravel their journeys, wisdom, and the unique experiences of these spiritual leaders who are making a profound impact in this region. Get ready for insightful conversations that transcend the pulpit and bring you closer to the heart of each pastor. Good afternoon and welcome to Spotlight on New England. We are in Bridgeport, Connecticut at Bethel African Methodist Episcopal Church, where the Reverend Iona Smith Nze is pastor. Hello, Pastor Nze, and how are you today?
I'm doing well, Elder Lovelace. Glad to be with you.
Thank you for making time for us today. So as we're chatting, can you share a bit about your entrance into ministry, how you came to be pastor?
My goodness, I think I have been called since I was about 9 or 10 when my grandfather passed away, but didn't have the language or a way forward as a little girl in ministry. And then it caught up with me when my dad was ill. And I took that walk down the middle aisle and realized that it wasn't just about asking for a miracle for him, it was God calling me forward. So within a year of his passing, I was in divinity school and already serving as not a licentiate, but someone in training at St. Paul A.M.E. Church in Cambridge under the pastorate of Reverend Dr. Leroy Adels, Sr. And the way forward has been continuous, and it's also been crooked. And at no point did I recognize while at St. Paul that there would become an opportunity for me to become a fellow at Charles Street A.M.E. As a pastoral resident. I spent 2 years there, and in my cohort, there was a lot of tragedy. And we, as participants in the program, really had to bring up our faith. It was in the second year of my tenure as a pastoral resident that Bishop Richard Franklin Norris sent me to my first church. And I wound up in Buffalo, New York at Delane Waring A.M.E. Church. And I was its first female pastor. They told me that they locked the first one out. And I was grateful that they didn't lock me out. I had 5 years there. And then Bishop Norris sent me to Ellendale, Delaware, to pastor Mount Zion A.M.E. Church. And from there, Bishop Ingram sent me to Bethel A.M.E. in New Jersey. And from there, I am here, finally back at the church where I was first ordained.
Quite a journey.
It's a journey.
How has it been with the various relocations and also being single, making those transitions? How has that experience
That's
been?
a good question. I think I really stand as an example of an itinerant in ministry, having been willing to go from place to place without any complaint. As a matter of fact, I was raised in ministry, never to think I had an opportunity to say no to our bishop.
That was our generation.
Yeah. So wherever they told me I was going, I went. As a single person, it has been somewhat lonely, but I must tell you that in every assignment, I have either found a family member I didn't know about and had never met, or I have made great friends. And I feel grateful to know so many people in the AME church, because I also had the opportunity to represent the church at different levels. It has been more rewarding than I can tell you. But I'm at a point in my ministry now where the loneliness is becoming a little bit more pronounced. And I think it's probably because I'm moving in that area of retirement in 10 years,
Right.
and thinking, okay, what shall I do after my pastoral career is over?
Reverend Nze, what can you share with us a defining moment in your life? They say that there are maybe about 12 or so defining moments in the course of one's pastoral ministry. But if you could share a defining moment in your life and also one within the ministry.
The most defining moment in my ministry and in my life is the death of my son while I was a pastoral resident at Charles Street. And believing in that moment that it wasn't God, but that it was some satanic thing going on, impacting my life. I can count the years in ministry with the number of years he's been gone. So there is a sweet sadness on some level every time an anniversary comes, and my pastoral anniversary actually matches the birthday of our founder, Richard Allen, February 14th. So I just went through that season. Today, 19 years later, I have to tell you that I am every bit the woman of God that God wanted me to be, and that I know that I will see my son again.
Absolutely.
There's a triumph in this. The more that I live out my calling, the more I understand that it was God's will, not mine, and it was not the devil. And there are so many confirmations of that along the way that tell me I'm on the right path. I've been called to do this, and this is what I should be doing at this time in my life.
But clearly that was a point of struggle for you.
Yeah, it was a faith struggle. I said to Bishop Norris, I don't think I'm ready. And he said, you will be okay. And I said, Bishop, I know you think that, but this just happened. So I became a pastor 4 months after my son's death. And I thought, I'm too fragile. I can't do this. But I have to tell you that as soon as I got to Buffalo, it was a beautiful, large edifice with maybe 20 adults, but about 50 kids.
My goodness.
And as I walked in and saw all of the people and all of the children, I realized that God was giving me a way to exercise my mommy muscle. And I'm still in touch with those children who are now young adults. And they still call me mommy by permission of their parents.
And some having answered their own call.
That's correct.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, it is a wonder when I look back at how God brought me in. But it's also something that gives me a lot of jubilance that I have, in fact, endured. I have really made an effort not to get sidetracked by what other people think, and really see all the benefits of being a woman in ministry at this time.
Yeah. What would you say to other mothers who've had to bury their children?
Believe it or not, I would say what Bishop said to me. It's going to be all right. I found in that season of my life that most of the clergy who approached me to give any kind of condolence were not comforting me at all. And I was pretty angry about that. But I now understand that unless you've been through something like that, you do not know how to comfort someone in that position. I now know that for any parent who has lost a child, for anyone who has a loss of someone they love, that a very close presence without words works the best. Just knowing that you're there. Just being able to sit, I think the Jewish faith calls it Shiva, sitting in Shiva. And I've learned to sit in Shiva with people who lose loved ones because we don't have the right words. It would be nice if we did, but we don't have the right words, but our presence means so very much.
Absolutely. A ministry of presence.
Yeah.
Pastor Nze, would you like to share more about your son?
I love any opportunity to talk about that young man. He would be 38 now, which is hard to believe because I can only imagine that he would be successful in his own right and be married with children. And we used to joke when he was a little boy that when he built his mansion, he was going to build a space for me connected to the house, but he would not give me a doorway into the house because he knew that his children would find their way to me and that I would spoil them. And we would laugh about that. But another memory is that he and I talked about doing ministry together, traveling together. As I was sent, he would go with me and would serve as my music director. And he used to travel with me as I was in development as a minister. And he knew the notes to play in order to get me to go higher, to calm down. The most impressive part of him were the parts of him that he lived without being in my space. And that was when he was in college at Wilberforce. He was an advocate for students on campus who were not doing well, and he would take them to then President Floyd Flake and advocate on their behalf. And he would tell me these stories, and I would be amazed at the young man, that he was telling me these things. But when he passed away in that car accident, I learned so much more about the man that he was. And I learned that he had evangelized not only at Wilberforce, but at Payne Seminary. He met people there. He met people at, I can't remember the names of the colleges that are right there, but he evangelized about 500 young people to Christ. And I only saw videos of the funeral, but thousands of young people showed up to pay their respects for him, for his life. And the whole community was devastated. I believe that he served out his purpose. Many of us are going to evangelize as pastors and as laity. Will we ever get to the 500 number? I don't know. But I have no trouble believing that in terms of his calling in life, he served his purpose to God to evangelize 500 young people. And I have no reservation believing that he was returned to sender because he had done his work. But here's the thing, and I know this for sure. If God had told me when I conceived him that I only had 21 years with him, I might have missed my opportunity and said no to God. And I'm so glad he did not ask me that question.
Had an impactful 21 years.
He did. He accomplished a lot. He did a lot in his life. He traveled around the country, not only for Wilberforce, but he did the 3,000-mile civil rights journey and became very committed to the privatization of jails and the prison industrial complex. I mean, just became a very passionate voice in that area. And he had a beautiful voice that was really shaped by Sister Velma Jeffers at St. Paul. She really, and if you look at any of the pictures of him from Wilberforce, he knew how to hold him. I mean, he was just very prepared. He would hold himself a certain way, and he knew to watch the conductor at all times. And you could see that the camera would always find him because he stood out as this person who knew what to do. Very proud to have been his mom. Wish she was here to be my music director. We would be hopping up in here, let me tell you. And the other piece of his story that is connected to mine is the year before he passed away. I was diagnosed with meningitis, and they thought I would die. And he came home from college and said, stood at the foot of my bed after being advised not to go in the room. He said, "Mom, I just want you to know that you're going through a Job experience. and it's going to be all right. And then a year almost to the date, he was gone. And I thought, he told me I was going through a Job experience, and here we are. And I have every reason to believe that the things that I've lost are the things that God will replenish in due season.
Absolutely. And more.
And more.
And when we think about your son, what is his name?
His name was John Ike Chukwu.
John, yes.
But we called him Ike. Ike Chukwu means power of God in Igbo language, Nigeria. He is half Nigerian, and he would say, I am a true African American. You are not. And so we would have those kinds of jokes too. I miss him terribly, but I rejoice every time I get an opportunity to talk about him.
And you never know the fruit that is still being produced through his evangelism and witness on those college campuses and beyond.
Yeah, as a matter of fact, he and a couple of his classmates started a fraternity on campus. The first line passed at his funeral. You want to know what the name of it was?
I'm waiting.
Would you like? First, I'll tell you the logo. The logo was a hamburger, and the title of the fraternity was Fatty Sci-Fi.
Fatty.
And it was popular and is still going on, but they actually came up with a new name, and the name is an acronym for NZE. I think it's Nu Zeta Epsilon. Yeah.
Do you get to talk about your son often?
No.
You should talk more about him.
Yeah. It probably brings a lot of light. Yeah, I love talking about him.
Yeah.
But I think about him all the time.
I'm sure.
Yeah. Yeah.
As you've gone along this journey, have you developed a personal vision statement or statement that directs or governs the way you handle pastoral ministry?
I go to sleep every night asking God to forgive me for any sins I've committed by thought, word, and deed. I go through that litany. And I wake up in the morning knowing that God has given me another opportunity to do it right or to do it well. And so we have a prayer call that begins at 6:45 every morning, and I'm usually on very early, and they expect me to be on. And, my voice is bright, and I'm ready to start the day knowing that I don't know what the day will, incur, but I do know that God is with me at all times. And so if I were to give a personal mission statement, I would tell you that I am a person called by God to serve God's people in all of their states of being. And that I really don't think so much about being a woman in ministry as much as I am simply called by God to do the work. And I am wanting to make sure that everybody gets the chance to meet the God that I know. That would be my mission statement.
Yeah. When you were younger, what did you see yourself doing as an adult? What did you want to be when you grew up?
I imagined that I would become a physician. And in fact, I am a physician of the soul now.
All right. Reverend Nze, tell us something that no one might know about you.
There are lots of things that people don't know. In this ministry, as lonely as it is, I have found that it's good to be cautious about what people know about you. Let's see. I think people would be surprised to know that I've won awards for photography.
Okay.
That I love the arts. That I now speak Franish and Spanish because my Spanish and French have blended together. So I have this language with my sisters, and that I love to laugh. I love to laugh. I think everybody sees my serious side as a pastor, but laughter is good for the soul.
Absolutely.
And I love to laugh.
For sure. If you could name 3 people with whom you'd like to have a conversation.
I would love to have a conversation with George Bush Jr.
And why is that?
He had a sense of humor as a president, and he didn't take himself very seriously, and he was not as serious as his dad. And I found that fascinating because he was supposed to represent this very conservative party, and you would often find him laughing with everybody. So as a politician, and that is something no one would know. I actually thought of running for public office. Okay. So I have an interest in politics, and I think he's a fascinating political character and personality. I would love to have had an opportunity to meet Maya Angelou. When I was a little girl, I was an avid reader, and every birthday my father gave me one of her books. I did meet her actually in Boston, but not to have a conversation with her. And my father said before he died that the reason he gave me those books is because I reminded him so much of Maya Angelou. And he knew that I always wanted to be a writer. Third person, who would I like to know? I would like to know my great-grandfather, John Henry, who founded an A.M.E. church in Towson, Maryland. He died long before I was ever conceived of. But I would love to know what he and my maternal great-grandfather, both of them founded A.M.E. churches. I'd love to know what they were thinking. You know, what was it that you envisioned for these two churches that by now I've preached in?
Were they both in Maryland?
Both in Maryland. And I've had the opportunity to preach in both of those churches. Yeah.
That's quite an honor, I'm sure.
Yeah.
All right. What are you doing here? What types of ministry is Bethel currently engaged in?
We are embarking on the need to address the needs of this community. If you walk just one block, there are men, primarily men, who have need of housing and mental health services and other things. So there's a church on the other side of the gazebo, New Vision, that we hope to partner with to get more services in. But Bethel has this campus that is somewhat underused. And we are looking at and have actually made inroads in affordable housing in this area, and met recently with the mayor and his staff to talk about the empty parcels of land in the area that we might help develop. We are the historic Black church in the city of Bridgeport, and I'm often reminding the congregation that if that is our legacy, then we need to stand for something. And to provide housing in a city that has become hugely overpriced in terms of housing stock. And every new development, not including people of working class. It makes sense for us to move in that direction and also think about how to develop the parking lot in a new way. So one of the, we have an architect that is working with us, and we're looking at the possibility of converting the parking lot and possibly the parsonage into affordable housing with underground parking. And providing parking at cost to the various entities in the neighborhood. We're looking at making sure that youth are served in this community. 200 young people go by our church every single day, school day, and bringing them in to feed them and offer homework assistance, but more importantly, to bring them to God and to offer them even an opportunity to create a choir, a youth choir for the neighborhood. We already have a feeding program where we feed probably 200 meals a month to homeless citizens. That isn't the politically correct way to say it, and I'm always struggling for the right way to say it, but they look forward to seeing us, and it is a hot meal with all the courses considered. And we are looking at bringing together a cohort of men who have a desire to know God, but have a discomfort in a church full of women. So looking at those things for this year. And in the past, certainly, the church has been involved in not only feeding, but also in literacy, being known as a church of educators. So that's our strong suit.
Very much so. You mentioned recently that you had a renewed energy about the church and ministry. Would you care to share about that?
In every church except for one of the 4 conferences where I've served, I have spent at least 5 years. And I think you all probably already knew this, but I did not know that it takes about 5 years to come to know your congregation in a real way and for them to know you. And I've gotten to a point where I'm now entering or beginning to end my 7th year here. And I feel like the sky is the limit because I now know who's here and what their gifts are and how they want to move forward, whether it's evangelistic or something else. I know who prefers not to be known publicly for their giving. I know many things that I couldn't have known sooner. And that does renew my interest in ministry because it allows me to work with the people and develop new leaders in new ways. Many people in the churches I've served have a desire to become known for their leadership, but they're not leaders yet. And they don't necessarily ask, Pastor, will you help me to become a leader? But what I'm learning about me and my own development as a pastor is I have that capacity to make leaders. And that renews my hope for the legacy of the church because I can be moved. But what is left behind that a new pastor can both work with and build upon? And having a set of members who are ready to go, they know what's expected, that's the way I want to end my career. I want to be one of those pastors that trains up the leadership of the church so that we're not always starting over after 5 years.
Yeah. And so how do you want to be remembered?
I want to be remembered as a pastor who pastored the people and cared about their learning, the A.M.E. church. I want to be one who the children will say, she really loved me. And I want to be one who stands as an example, not only as a pastor, period, but as a woman in ministry, as one who has dared to make a difference by agreeing to go where the bishop told me to go and knowing that I found goodness everywhere and not being afraid to conquer unconquered territory. And I want to be known as a pastor who overcame. I have overcome the odds in order to be where I am today. Yeah. And what ways did the pandemic shape the way you're currently doing ministry? Oh, wow. Well, certainly embracing the technology. During that period of time, I felt like I was holding the sky up for the church. And I learned very quickly how to manage Zoom. And, there was this high energy determination to figure it out and make sure that we stayed together. So certainly embracing Zoom and Facebook and YouTube, embracing the opportunity to communicate with various members through the virtual space as opposed to in person, welcoming people back into the physical space, but using the virtual space too. It has really expanded my vocabulary as well as my skill set in terms of welcoming a new church. I don't think that the people who want to come to church today are interested in dressing up anymore.
Right.
I think that many people want to be able to watch from home. And I think we have to find ways to engage them so that they feel like there's a way for them to participate physically in the work and life of the church. But certainly the opportunity to blend those two, the virtual and physical space, it's a game changer.
For sure.
It is a game changer. And I think we lost only one member to COVID, but we lost 19 members at the same time. And I think that that loss plays a role in the use of technology as well, because we're able to still remain a cohesive group of people praying for everyone at the same time. So it's been sensational in a way. Yeah.
Is there anything else that you would like to share, a topic that you would like to touch on?
Often sit in my own space and wonder, what would Richard Allen think about the A.M.E. Church of today? And I didn't know him. I've read a lot about him, and I do wonder what he would think. But more importantly, I wonder, what does God think of our church right now? Have we done all of the things we can do to make the world a better place? And when I think of the places where we've fallen over a rock or stumbled onto a grainy path, I recognize that I can't say they did anything because I'm part of. And I often wonder if I have done enough to make the world a better place in the A.M.E. Church. Have I been A.M.E. enough? Because the truth is, as I think of the future of the A.M.E. Church, it's not all Black anymore. It's Spanish speaking. Right. It's Haitian Creole speaking. It is children without parents speaking. It is wet alcoholics coming in because the church is more of a hospital than a boutique hotel. And I struggle with not making it the boutique hotel experience that a lot of people want, but knowing, because I have boots on the ground, that people have greater needs than the hotel. We can always go to a hotel, but can we be healed in a hospital intended to heal us? Those are the kinds of things that I think about these days, and how to be part of and also offer a constructive critique to where we are and the things that we could do.
All right. And the question that you selected is this: if you could share your most memorable moment in ministry.
You know, as a pastor, I don't expect my people to love me. And 2 years ago, as we were coming out of COVID, they gave me a birthday party. And this church, the members of this church, gave me a birthday party. And it was, I had a vision for how I wanted to celebrate this birthday. It was significant. And, but I didn't give them any parameters. Just whatever is moving your heart, that's what I'd like for you to do. And it was the most beautiful birthday party that I have ever had. And the reason it's significant to me in ministry, because I never expected to be loved, and it demonstrated that I had accomplished being loved by a congregation.
Beautiful. Yeah, that had to be very special.
It was.
Yeah.
It was.
So we've done the hard stuff. Now for a few lighter questions.
Okay.
All right. I tell everybody I like late night TV, and from time to time watch The Late Show with Stephen Colbert. Rapid fire questions, just what comes to your mind. No,
Okay.
not a whole lot of thought needed for this.
Okay.
Apples or oranges?
Apples.
Best sandwich?
Grilled cheese with ricotta, cheddar, spinach.
Okay, that's a good sandwich.
Mm-hmm.
Most used app on your phone?
It's either money. I would say Google.
Okay.
Yeah.
And cats or dogs?
Dogs.
Flight or road trip?
These days I don't like either, but I think I would still go with the road trip.
Okay. And what's one thing you own that you really need to toss out?
Books.
Okay. Let's see. What is one thing you must have if you were stranded on an island?
Water.
Okay. And you get one song to listen to for the rest of your life. What would that be?
Like a bridge over troubled water.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And last question, describe the rest of your life in 5 words.
Well, I'm smiling, so laughter, energy, adventure, praise, faith.
Right. Well, there you have it. Thank you, Pastor Nze, for your time today, and certainly for entertaining these questions and for a wonderful conversation.
This was fun. I'm glad you're doing this.
Thank you.
It
I'm
gives
enjoying
me
it.
an opportunity to talk to you in ways that we don't ever really get to talk.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yep. So it's been good.
Yeah.
Thank
you
you
so much.
All righty.